So this past weekend, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to put on the docket for this upcoming week, and I realized that I never posted my retrospective for The Defenders. I was on vacation and got caught up with getting some reviews out for Deadpool, Wolverine, things like that. And I skipped right over it and just did Civil War. So whatever, here it is. Let's dive into The Defenders. Here we are, the mini-series where all of our Netflix heroes finally come together for one epic adventure. I remember when this series debuted, the hype around it was kind of wild. I know that only 2 of the 4 heroes series were really critically acclaimed, but generally, people were excited to see all 4 of them team up. And then it premiered, and people seemed to be a little underwhelmed. I can't speak to my personal feelings at the time of what my initial reaction was, because I've only seen this once and it was way back in 2017 and I don't really remember. I remember liking it. I do always remember it though receiving very mixed reviews from audiences and pretty negative reviews from critics. Knowing that I was still looking forward to revisiting this property because I do genuinely enjoy all 4 characters even if their respected individual series weren't the most complete. Now that I've gone back through all 8 episodes of this series, I gotta say, I really enjoyed this miniseries. And it seems like since its debut, both critics and the audience have come around on this show. I can't speak with a lot of confidence because I don't know for a fact, but I do remember reviews from both sides being worse than what they are now. But I could be wrong. I think this show is good. It has its problems, but it is a lot of fun. And the aspect that makes it the most enjoyable is the chemistry between its 4 leads. I didn't remember how well all 4 play off of each other. The entire sequence where the group is holed up with Stick inside the Chinese restaurant is incredible. Danny was just so excited to be teaming up with other heroes and learning about everyone and their powers. Luke is just in a complete state of continuous disbelief of all the discussion around dragons, magic, and immortality. Jessica, like always, just doesn't give a shit about anyone else's problems but her own. And then Matt is just being completely over the situation. This whole sequence in this restaurant is my favorite scene of the series. It's as thrilling as it is hilarious. And all 4 actors are giving their all, just bouncing back and forth off of each other. I suspect a good chunk of this scene was improvised, and I would be surprised if it wasn't. It is electric. And this continues throughout all 8 episodes. I don't think it ever reaches the highs of this sequence, but the chemistry is always in top form. The big bad that our heroes came together to save New York from is the Hand, which makes sense. 2 of our 3 defenders, Matt and Danny, have already faced off against this shadowy organization. I loved how they were able to tie the Hand into Jessica and Luke's worlds to bring them into the fold. The writers did this in a way that would make sense to the events that occurred in their individual series, as well as their own characters' motives. That being said, there are pieces of the Hand's villainy that I don't particularly find very interesting. I think having the Hand be sort of this underground cult that is secretly controlling various aspects of New York's political and industrial sectors is interesting. It's sort of reminiscent of the Mafia in its heyday, just a little more fantastical. But we've been in touch with this organization for 3 seasons at this point, and we still don't really understand what their motives are. Like, sure, I understand the goal of the 5 Fingers. All 5 leaders were exiled from Kunlun because they used their power and influence to achieve eternal life. Fine. But I don't understand why they have such a big following. I never understood what the promise to their subjects was, because, and I could be very wrong here, but I don't think they grant their followers the gift of immortality, so why exactly do they obey? On top of that, why do they seek so much power and influence throughout the world in the first place? If their goal is to just live forever, it seems like they're still able to achieve that goal without all of the extreme criminal activity. Maybe they're bored, I don't know. I just wish they were just a bit more fleshed out. They're a compelling villain nonetheless. And I'm glad they included Elektra, though, because I didn't find Alexandra very interesting. In my opinion, no offense to Sigourney Weaver because she's great and she's good in this show, but I wish they would have just killed her off immediately after resurrecting Elektra. Actually, that's another complaint. The Black Sky. I always thought that aspect of Elektra's character arc was a bit ridiculous. I mean, everything you hear come from Stick or Alexandra or the Hand about Elektra being this ultimate weapon. I mean, you would think it was like the coming of Satan himself. This unstoppable, eternal, mystical force of nature, and you never really get that sense. She's just a warrior who's good at martial arts like Matt or Danny or any of the heroes. She doesn't possess any incredible magical skills, and to be honest, she doesn't seem any more or less dangerous than when she appeared in Daredevil Season 2. What I'm trying to say was they were on the right track with these villains, they just didn't quite execute it as well as they could have, and I wish they would have given us a little more. On top of the incomplete villain setup, I think the story as a whole is good, but definitely feels rushed at times. They squeezed this narrative into 8 episodes, and the front half is a lot of setup with introducing these heroes to one another. And I know I've complained in every review leading up to this point because these shows have been too long. I think all of them should have been cut from 13 to 10 episodes. With the Defenders, I think adding 2 more episodes would have helped to flesh out the villains more and also create a more complete and breathable narrative. The action in this series is great. They utilize everyone's skill sets and powers in such creative ways. Not to mention the hallway fight inside Midland Circle. Marvel Netflix loves their hallway fights. But it's all great. The final showdown under the circle with the Hand is a blast to watch. Even getting capped off by a Daredevil sacrifice, it just makes this moment that much more emotional. I also want to say the writers did such a great job bringing in each character's supporting cast into the fold as well and making it feel organic. It was great getting to see all of these characters from all of their own New York boroughs get to interact and talk about the people that they are closest to, these heroes that they all know and love. It was interesting. Overall, I'm really glad I revisited this show. I really enjoyed it. The narrative and villains are a bit shaky at times, but it is a ton of fun. The chemistry and the action between our 4 heroes is what makes this show. The actors and the writers did such a great job at making that aspect of the show stand out. I know Daredevil is returning in Born Again, which I'm super excited for, and there have been rumors about Kristen Ritter returning as Jessica Jones. But honestly, I'd love to see all 4 of these heroes come back, not only in their own properties, but in shows together. It seems like Feige has heard and made adjustments based on the fans' opinions the past few years, and I hope he does so with the Marvel Netflix properties. We really did have a good thing here, and I think these characters deserve a second chance.